Anna, and with me, as always, is Jake.
Hi, everyone. It's so good to be here again.
Today, we're talking about something we've all felt before. Failure. That moment when something doesn't go the way we hoped. Maybe you didn't pass an exam, or a project didn't work out, or you just lost motivation completely.
Yeah, and it's funny, or maybe not funny, how failure can make us feel lost. Like you suddenly question everything. Am I good enough? Should I even try again?
Exactly. It's such a heavy feeling. But here's the thing. Failure is part of being human. It's a sign that we tried. You can't fail if you never do anything.
True. After my university exams, I once failed one important class. I felt embarrassed. Everyone around me seemed to be doing fine, and I just wanted to disappear.
I totally get that. When I was younger, I failed an audition I really wanted. I cried so much that day. But later, I realized it wasn't the end. It was just one stop along the road.
Yeah, I like that idea. One stop along the road. It's like failure isn't a wall, it's just a curve on the road. You can still driving.
That's a nice metaphor. And I think that's what today's episode is really about. Finding motivation after failure. Because everyone fails, but not everyone knows how to rise again.
And to everyone listening, if you failed recently, it's okay. You're not broken. You're just in a moment of learning.
Well said. So let's talk about how to move from that lost feeling to a place where you can slowly find your motivation again.
Yeah, because the first step is understanding what's happening inside you. That voice of doubt that often comes after failing.
Right. That's a perfect place to start next.
So after failing that class, I remember this little voice in my head saying, "You're not smart enough. Everyone else is better than you." It was so loud I started to believe it.
Oh, I know that voice. We all have it, the voice of self-doubt. It says things like, "You can't do this," or "You'll just fail again." It's not the truth, but it feels real.
Exactly. It's like having a tiny critic living in your brain rent-free.
Laughs.
Yeah. And the problem is, we often listen to it too much. We let it control how we see ourselves. But here's the trick. Learning to recognize that voice and say, "Hey, thanks for your opinion, but I'm going to keep going anyway."
I like that. It's like being the boss of your own thoughts. You don't have to kick that voice out. Just don't let it drive the car.
Nice one. And for our listeners, here's a useful phrase. Give yourself some grace. It means to be kind to yourself when things don't go perfectly.
That's such a good expression. We're often kind to others, but really mean to ourselves.
Yes. We'll tell a friend, "Don't worry, you'll do better next time." But when it's us, we say, "You're a failure." Totally unfair, right?
For sure. And you know, one small thing that helped me, I started writing down what my inner critic said, and then wrote the opposite next to it. Like, if I wrote, "I can't do this," I'd reply, "I'm learning." And that takes time.
That's such a simple but powerful exercise. When you put those thoughts on paper, you can see how harsh they sound. Then you realize, wait, I wouldn't talk like that to my best friend. Why am I talking to myself this way?
Exactly. Failure hurts, but self-doubt makes it worse. Once you start changing that inner dialogue, it's like turning the lights back on after being in the dark.
I love that image. And once you can see again, even just a little, you can start taking small steps forward.
Right. You don't need a big jump. Just one small step can change everything.
And that's what we'll talk about next. How to rebuild confidence through small wins.
So, Jake, you mentioned taking small steps forward after failure. What did that actually look like for you?
Well, after I failed that class, I didn't feel ready to do anything big. I felt embarrassed and tired. So instead of setting some huge goal like, I'll study for 6 hours every day, I just told myself, let's study for 20 minutes today.
That's such a smart move. There's this phrase I like, progress, not perfection. It means what matters is moving forward, even a little, not doing everything perfectly.
Exactly. And what's funny is that after a few small steps, I started feeling better. That 20 minutes turned into 30, then 40, and before I knew it, I passed the class the next semester.
That's such a great example. I think we often forget that motivation doesn't magically appear. It grows after we start doing small things.
Yes, people always say, I'll wait until I feel motivated. But it's actually the opposite. Action creates motivation.
That's a golden quote right there. And for our listeners, here's a useful phrase: one step at a time. It means focusing on the next small thing, not the entire journey.
Totally. When I started my fitness journey last year, I couldn't even run 1 kilometer. I felt so weak. But I told myself, just walk for 10 minutes. After a month, those 10 minutes became 30, and eventually I could run 5K.
That's amazing. And it's a perfect reminder. Change happens slowly, quietly. Sometimes we don't even notice it until we look back and say, wow, I've come so far.
Yeah, and it's okay if you still stumble sometimes. There were days I didn't train at all, but instead of quitting, I said, tomorrow's another chance.
That's a beautiful mindset. Failure teaches us patience. Each small win is like a brick. One by one, you build something strong.
And the best part? Those little wins make you believe in yourself again. You realize, I can do this, and that belief becomes your fuel.
Exactly. And once you have that fuel, you can start to look back and ask, not, why did I fail, but what did I learn?
Right, and that's our next stop, turning failure into feedback.
So, Jake, let's talk about this idea, turning failure into feedback. What does that mean for you?
For me, it means looking at what went wrong without beating myself up. Instead of saying, I'm terrible, I ask, what can I do better next time? It's like changing the question, and that changes everything.
I love that. There's a big difference between why did I fail and what can I learn from this. The first one makes you feel stuck. The second one moves you forward.
Exactly. You know, when I was learning guitar, I gave up after a few months. My fingers hurt, I couldn't remember the chords, and I thought, maybe I'm just not talented.
Oh, I've been there. Learning something new is always hard in the beginning.
Right. But after a while, I realized my mistake. I was practicing without a plan. I'd play random songs instead of focusing on simple exercises. Once I changed that, I started improving. So my failure was actually teaching me how to learn better.
That's such a great point. Sometimes failure is just feedback in disguise. It's like life saying, hey, try another way.
Exactly. And for our listeners, here's a helpful phrase. Learn the lesson, not the pain. It means don't stay stuck in the feeling of failure, take the lesson and move forward.
That's powerful. And also, reflection helps so much. When something doesn't go well, ask yourself a few questions. What worked? What didn't? What would I do differently next time?
Those are great. It's like a mini review of your own life.
Yeah, and you don't have to be hard on yourself. Learning takes time. Even failure can be a gentle teacher if we listen to it the right way.
I like that, a gentle teacher. You know, once we stop fighting our mistakes, we can actually use them to grow.
Exactly. And that growth opens the door to something new, inspiration. After you understand the lesson, you can start feeling curious and hopeful again.
Right, and that's what we'll talk about next, how to find new inspiration and purpose after failing.
So, Jake, after reflecting and learning from failure, how do you find that spark again, that motivation to keep going?
That's a great question. Honestly, at first, I didn't. I felt empty for a while. But slowly, I started doing small things that made me feel alive again. Going for walks, listening to music, talking to positive people.
That's so important. Sometimes motivation doesn't come from the big goal. It comes from tiny moments of joy that remind us who we are.
Exactly. I remember talking with a friend who said, don't try to find motivation. Try to find curiosity. That really changed how I thought. Curiosity feels lighter. You don't have to force yourself. You just explore.
That's beautiful. And for our listeners, here's a useful expression: light the spark. It means doing something that makes you feel excited or inspired again. even if it's small.
Yeah, like when I started reading about people who failed before they succeeded. Did you know Walt Disney was fired for lacking creativity?
I've heard that one. And J.K. Rowling got rejected by 12 publishers before Harry Potter was accepted. Those stories always remind me that failure isn't the end, it's often the beginning of something bigger.
Totally. And sometimes you just need a change of environment. Like I once moved my desk near a window. The sunlight, the view, suddenly I felt more hopeful.
Oh, yes. A new space can mean a new mindset. And connecting with supportive people helps too. Talking about what you feel, even just saying, I'm struggling, can make it lighter.
For sure. We often think we have to deal with failure alone, but talking about it brings connection. And from connection comes energy.
That's so true. When you share your story, you might inspire someone else who's going through the same thing.
Exactly. And that's when motivation becomes something deeper. Not just I want to succeed, but I want to grow. I want to help.
Right. And when your motivation becomes about meaning, not just success, you find peace, even while you're still on the journey.
I love that. So in the next part, let's talk about how to keep moving forward with purpose and kindness to yourself.
Perfect. Let's go there next. So, Jake, now that we've talked about reflection and inspiration, how do we keep moving forward, especially when the road still feels uncertain?
That's the hardest part, right? Because even after you find motivation again, life doesn't suddenly become easy. There will still be challenges. But what changes is you.
Exactly. Failure gives you something that success never can: depth. You learn what really matters.
I love that. You know, after failing that class and going through all that doubt, I started caring less about being the best and more about becoming better than yesterday. That small shift changed everything.
That's such a powerful mindset. Better than yesterday. For our listeners, that's today's key phrase. It means you don't have to compete with anyone else. Just keep improving a little bit each day.
Yes, and also, it's okay to rest. Moving forward doesn't mean running all the time. Sometimes taking a break is part of the process.
Absolutely. We often forget that rest is not quitting, it's recharging. Like breathing, you can't only inhale, you need to exhale too.
That's a great metaphor. And honestly, I think failure teaches us compassion. When you've fallen down and gotten back up, you understand others better too.
So true. You become softer, wiser, and more patient, both with yourself and with others. That's real growth.
And you start to see that success isn't a straight line. It's more like a dance. A few steps forward, a few steps back, but always moving with the rhythm of life.
I love that image. So, to everyone listening, if you're in a season of failure or doubt, remember this is not the end of your story. It's just a chapter.
Yeah, the next page can be amazing, but you have to keep turning it.
So, keep showing up, keep believing, and keep being kind to yourself. That's how we move forward with meaning.
Beautifully said, Anna.
You know, Jake, today's conversation reminded me that failure doesn't take away our value, it just tests our faith in ourselves.
Yeah, and I think when we see failure as a teacher instead of a punishment, we start growing in a deeper way.
To our listeners, maybe you're rebuilding after something tough right now. Please remember, you don't need to be perfect. You just need to keep going. Every small effort counts, even when no one sees it.
And every time you rise after falling, you become a little stronger, a little wiser, a little kinder.
That's what life, and learning English too, is all about. Progress, not perfection.
Exactly. So keep believing in yourself, keep practicing, and keep feeling English every day.
Thank you so much for listening.